You are welcome to today's lesson on English. We are looking at idioms and meaning derivation. That means we have two aspects to this section that we want to look at. So we'll take hints on this topic. Thereafter, we'll take practical questions and explain, pick our answer as well as explain the answer. Through that, you'll be able to know how to go about answering questions on idioms. Now, let's take the hints on idioms and meaning derivation. Now, one, this word is actually a pronoun for an idiom. So an idiom is a combination of words that have a figurative meaning. A combination of words that have a figurative meaning. This means that an idiom has figurative meaning. Hint 2. The figurative meaning is comprehended in regard to a common use of the expression that is separate from the literal meaning of the definition of the words of which it is made. What this means is that when you take an idiom, you are not going to get the meaning of the idiom through the definition meanings of each word. Through the definition of meaning of each word, you are not going to get the meaning of the idiom from that. It has a common use. That is, the meaning is going to be different from the meanings of those individual words. So you want to take note of that point. We will explain this more as we move on. Hint 3. The common use of the expression mentioned in 2, that is that common use we've mentioned, indicates a general use to cover other common situations. So if we take one idiom, it has a common reference to a wide range of situations arising from that common situation, or from that point. That is what it means. So you can use that common use or common situation and spread it across all other situations that are like that. That is how an idiom operates. Hint 4. We take an example here. The idiom, he has bitten more than he can chew, covers any situation where one attempts more than one can handle. So you have a common situation here, or common use. Now take the idiom again. He has bitten more than he can chew. Picture a scenario where one wants to eat bread, and that person bites more than so much and put that in his mouth. That is, maybe about half the loaf, so much that it is difficult for him to move his mouth to chew the bread. That means, and he has taken, or he's attempting more than he can handle. So any situation that arises when one has taken on too much, it may not be chewing now, it may be that one wanted to do the laundry and the person has taken too many clothes that he can finish them up. It means he has bitten more than he can chew. So any situation at all where one attempts more than one can handle. So you can see that there's a common point from where we'll now take all other situations in that neighborhood. So the common point is this, the point, the example of one biting more than he can chew. But any situation in that likelihood, in that neighborhood, then of course can use this idiom. This is how you look at an idiom. So when you see an idiom, you first of all have to see the scenario where it is possible. When you see that scenario, and then you liken that to all other situations. Even when you don't know the meaning of an idiom, then it works like that. But you must agree that we haven't come to the meaning of the idiom through the meaning of the word, for example, the word bite or chew. No. We look at the general picture, and then from there we come to the meaning. And remember that the meaning goes beyond the issue of eating. We come to the overall meaning, the basic meaning that any situation where one attempts more than one can handle. So it has gone beyond the meaning of these words that has to do with eating. So that is why we say an idiom is figurative, it's not literal. So it's not just about eating. And in fact, this idiom, for example, is not used in situations that have to do with food. In most cases, situations that are outside the eating environment. Now, some questions, that's hint number 5, some questions on this section are not on idioms, but on meaning derivation. Meaning derivation. That means that we may get a question, what you have is not an idiom. The question would demand you to bring out the meaning. Sometimes the expression may be ambiguous or could be subjected to a number of interpretations. But what happens is that it's expected that you do not capture the meaning that is above that of that sentence. The sentence, whatever answer you pick, should be able to capture what the sentence means, or sometimes it can even be less. Then you leave out some part of the information. But of course, when you have an option where you leave out some part of the information and you have another one that captures the whole spectrum of meaning, you will take the one that captures the whole spectrum of meaning. But don't take the one that captures more than what the sentence means, because that will be incorrect. That will be untrue. It will not be true. So that is what you need to watch at on meaning derivation. But take note that when we begin to take practical questions, you will understand these issues more. So pay attention as we take practical questions on idioms and meaning derivation. Now, let's look at some questions explained, questions stroke answers explained. But before we take the questions, we want to look at instruction. So the instruction here is in each of questions 1 to 5 and subsequent questions on these topics that we'll take, that will apply. Select the option that best explains the information conveyed in the sentence. Meaning that the sentence will be given and then you will pick your option that explains it, that gives the meaning as you have it in the given sentence. Either in terms of an idiom or in terms of the meaning inherent in a sentence. Now, let's look at question number 1. If he were here, it could be more fun. We will just be taking our options one after the other. When we get to the right answer, we'll still state it, and then there are more options down. We will explain them why they're not. So, if he were here, it could be more fun. Look at that question. We'll take the option A now. He was expected but did not show up to make the occasion lively. Should this be the answer? No, it is not the answer. Why? 1. The option A reads he was expected. Does the sentence tell us he was expected? No. It said if he were here. What that means is that it could be that he was expected and he wasn't there. But it could be also that he wasn't expected. But obviously, if he was invited and he had come, it provide more fun. That is what the sentence means. So that if he were here is not specific to the fact that he was expected. Probably he wasn't even invited, but they realized later that he was that type of person who could provide more fun than they got. So you see that he was expected has given us more meaning than what the sentence actually says. So you begin to doubt that because of that you can't take that as your answer. Now we look at the other part of option A, but he did not show up to make the occasion lively. By this, it means the occasion wasn't lively. But is that what we have in the sentence? No. He said it could be more fun, meaning there was fun, but not enough. So to say this, that to make the occasion lively means the occasion wasn't lively. And of course, remember too that fun is not the same thing as being lively, but of course they are very close. But the point is that after all, the occasion had fun, but they needed more fun. So option A is out. We move on to option B now. There was no fun because he was not present. Now, from what has been explained, you can see that option B is out, that there was no fun. That is not true. The sentence tells us that if it could be more fun, it could be more fun. So it means there was fun. So to say that there was no fun removes that answer. Okay? So that eliminates option B. Now we'll come to option C. He did not show up, and so the occasion lacked much fun. Now let's look at this option. He did not show up, meaning he was not there. Because if you say if he were here, meaning he wasn't there. That is it. Right. So it means he didn't show up. He didn't come. That is the meaning of he didn't show up. Show up is a phrasal verb for come. He didn't come. So we can accept this aspect. And so the occasion lacked much fun. Now we'll look at that. Is that correct? Yes. We already told that it could be more fun. So there was fun, but there was not much of it. So we now look at option C and say that it qualifies as the correct interpretation of the sentence. Option C qualifies to be our answer. But sometimes let's look at D, whether D is a better option. If not, then of course we've taken our answer. But let's look at D now. He was being expected to supply more fun. If you look at option D, this, the last part, the latter part here, to supply more fun is correct, because we're told that it could be more fun, so they needed more fun, so it could supply more fun than they got. But what about the first part? He was being expected. Remember what was said about being expected. The fact that if he were there or he wasn't there doesn't mean that he was expected. It just could be that he wasn't even invited, and that means he wouldn't be expected. However, they realized later after the whole thing that if he had been invited and so he had come, then they could have more fun. So that will be the reason why you remove option D. Now look at our reasoning. You have to look at the meaning. You have to look at the semantic import of a sentence and ensure that your option qualifies and mirrors or captures the meaning in the given sentence. At least either captures it totally or capture an essential part of it. But you can't capture more than it has said, because you could be given wrong information. Now let's look at our question 2. The secretary said that the postponement of the meeting was due to unforeseen circumstances. The secretary said that the postponement of the meeting was due to unforeseen circumstances. Now our options now, we'll be looking at the options and see whether they qualify as answers. Now option A, the date of the meeting was shifted as a result. We're supposed to have unexpected reasons. As a result of unexpected reasons. Now, does this qualify? 1, we have the date of the meeting was shifted. The secretary said that the postponement of the meeting. If there's a postponement of the meeting, that means the date of the meeting was shifted. And if you shift the date of the meeting, the only thing that is missing here is that whether it is shifted forward or it's shifted backward. But there is a shifting, so there's a postponement. And of course, even the sentence said, the secretary said that the postponement. Now, actually postpone means that moving forward. I don't think that the word postpone captures moving backward. But that's the only place where but definitely it means by option A, the date of the meeting was shifted, means there was a postponement. At least it captures that. The important thing is that it should capture within and not without. So let's look at that part. Then, as a result of unexpected reasons, so due to unforeseen circumstances, if the things were not foreseen and they came, it means they were not expected. You were not expecting them, and the reason just circumstances came up. So this part also qualified as correct. So we can begin to say option A is correct. But don't hurry over picking your answers. Remember, actually we are supposed to look at some others and eliminate them, but we can still approach it this way. So we've taken our answer. If we have need to cancel it and change it, we will do that. So we'll begin to move that now and see the other options. Let's look at B. The meeting's date was put off for strange reasons. Now, the word put off is a phrasal verb for postpone. It's a phrasal verb for the word postpone. So it means the meeting's date was postponed. That is correct. That part is correct. So we say option B has this part correct. But let's look at the second part. For strange reasons. Now, let's look at that. The question has it that due to unforeseen circumstances. If circumstances are unforeseen, would they make them to be strange? You know when something is strange, something you are not familiar with. Now, these circumstances could be familiar ones, but they were not seen. They were not thought to that they will come up. So, for example, if the meeting was fixed for, if a meeting is fixed for, let's say, December 20th, that it will hold. Now, and we have the fact that every December, the people who meet are usually given a vacation. They know that, but usually they don't know the date. They are not told the date. And that December 20th happened that they have fixed their vacation, and it's affected. It's affecting the day. It will be unforeseen, but it will be a familiar reason. It's just that they were not expecting that it will fall on that date. So we can see why this word strange has given us more meaning. Actually, the reasons, the opposite circumstances could also be strange, but they could also be familiar reasons. That being so, we can't take B. It has given us more meaning than the sentence captures. And you have to be very wary of that. That may be wrong. So it's better to capture just the meaning or lesson. Now we'll take option C. The meeting was called off as a result of obstacles hitherto unknown. Alright? Now, C. The meeting was called off as a result of obstacles hitherto unknown. Does this option qualify? The meeting was called off. Called off is a phrasal verb for cancel, and cancel is different from postponement. Postponement means that in most cases the thing hasn't started. Whatever is postponed hasn't started. Then you postpone, and it also means too that when it's postponed, it will be held again. It's just moved or shifted, right? Having said that, cancel means that it is not holding, or at least whether it will hold or not is in doubt, that you wouldn't know whether it will hold at all again. Probably it can come up again, but as at the time it's cancelled, you are sure that this meeting will not hold. You don't have the clear conviction that it's going to hold at a later date. That is when you use the word cancel. But if it is moved from one day to another, you don't say cancel, you say postpone. So that makes option C to be wrong, the use of called off. Then another thing that can make you to eliminate C is the use of obstacles. The unforeseen circumstances mentioned earlier, are they obstacles? They may not be considered as obstacles. They may even be favorable things. For example, the illustration I gave earlier, vacation. The people who are supposed to meet are usually given vacation. It's just that the date they didn't know, and it came up that it has coincided with the meeting, and they simply postpone it until they come back from vacation. When they come back from vacation, they are refreshed. So you wouldn't call that an obstacle. So that means the word obstacle has given us more meaning. Of course, the opposite circumstances can also be obstacles, but the sentence hasn't told us that, hasn't specified it. So to use obstacle means giving more information. And then of course we have the outright use of called off, which is wrong, which is different from postpone. So option C is way out. Now we look at option D. The meeting broke up as a result of unusual difficulties. Now, can this qualify as an answer? First, we look at the word broke off. Broke off. Broke off means to discontinue. It therefore means that the meeting was being held and then they discontinued it. And when you use the word broke off, in most cases, it means the discontinuation came out of probably argument or brawl. So that tells you that this can be the answer, because it's different from postponement, discontinuing. And then we talk of unusual difficulties. One, so the circumstances may not be difficulties. The illustration used earlier for people who are to go for vacation, and because of that they have to move or postpone the date of the meeting, although they even show that it may not be difficulties that they were experiencing that brought the postponement. That is one. And then that is even unusual. It may not be unusual. It may not be unusual, but it's just that this time they were not expecting it. So there are different things entirely. So on about 3 counts, option D goes, or is eliminated. Now we realize that our answer is A, as mentioned earlier. Hope you remember that the secretary said that the postponement of the meeting was due to unforeseen circumstances. The interpretation of that can be the date of the meeting was shifted as a result of unexpected reason. This answer, this interpretation captures the essence of that sentence. It's just that, for example, who said it, like in the sentence the secretary, is not mentioned, but that doesn't matter. And then shifted, we're not too sure whether it's forward or backward, but it doesn't matter, but it's because it captures postponement. And I hope you understand the logical reasoning behind our answer. Now question number 3. Before I take question number 3, I'll let you know that the first 2 questions, I didn't mention that, the first 2 questions are on meaning derivations. So you can see how important meaning derivation is when it comes to this section of questions. So you want to understand that when the section on idioms and meaning derivation, you can in fact have more questions on meaning derivations at time than idioms. At some other time you have more idioms. At other times it will almost be equal. So that's you have to note. Now the question 3, however, is on an idiom or idioms. Alright, so we have the hunter has a bird's eye view of the animals. The hunter has a bird's eye view of the animals. What does this idiom mean? So before we pick our answer, I think it will be best for us to look at the meaning of the idiom. The meaning of the idiom means a general view from a high position looking down. That's the meaning of that idiom. And this is drawn from Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. Okay? So having that meaning behind, having that meaning in our mind, we can begin to pick our answer. A, he views animals from a high position. Does this qualify as the answer? Remember, the meaning of the idiom is a general view from a high position looking down. So he views animals from a high position. Does it qualify? Yes. Our answer, therefore, is A, going by the definition of the idiom. But let's just quickly run through the others and see whether we have a better answer than the option A. B, he views with the bird's eye. That is absolutely wrong based on the idiom we have given. Option C, he views the birds on a tree with one eye. That is even funny. But I'm sure this is put there to deceive you. Usually when people who want to shoot bird are tempted to shoot a bird, sometimes some of them will close one eye as they try to aim at the bird. So probably this is kept there for, if you are used to that, you may be thinking that that is what it means. So, but no, C is not an answer by the meaning of the idiom. D, he watches animals and birds closely. He may also be tempted like that because sometimes birds watch things for a long time, perched on a tree branch. So, but again, that is not our answer. Question number 4. Even though Susan was the last in the examination, her result wasn't too different from what had been expected. Even though Susan was the last in the examination, her result wasn't too different from what had been expected. Now, let's look at our options. A, her result was poor. Can this be our answer? Her result was poor. Now, the point is that no, this can be our answer. Why do we say that? Her result is poor. It's not what we are told here. You may be tempted to think that's the answer. Look at it. Even though Susan was the last in the examination, this doesn't mean that she was the last in position in the examination. It doesn't mean that. It could be that she was the last in finishing during the examination. Yes, it's possible like that. So to say that she has a poor result means that we are assuming that in the last in the examination means position. But this expression here can be ambiguous. Either she was last in position or she was last in finishing. That is the point you want to look at. So you must critically look at your sentence. This again is on meaning derivation. And you must be very careful when you're looking at the meaning of given sentences. So to that extent, we'll say A is not our answer. B, her result was a disappointment. Her result was a disappointment. In fact, for this point of B, we could have excluded that A on that basis. So now, because her result was a disappointment means that it was poor. A good result won't be a disappointment. I doubt that. So when a result is a disappointment, it means you expected the person to do well and the person didn't do well. Of course, too, it may not actually mean that it is poor. Maybe poor by your estimate. For example, as a child who you expect to have 85% on average in his or her result, if that child gets 60%, one can be disappointed. Yes, it is not a poor result. So there's a slight difference between them, but again, that is a wrong assumption based on the fact that we said we have, even though Susan was the last in the examination, basing that it means position. That again can't work because it doesn't necessarily mean that she was last in position. Alright, so that excludes or eliminates B. When I take C, her result was expected. Can this qualify? Remember that the sentence reads, even though Susan was the last in the examination, her result wasn't too different from what had been expected. It means that it was what she got was expected. So simply, her result was expected captures the sense or the meaning that we have in the given sentence. So we can take C. But let's see whether D is better. She had not been serious with her studies. Again, that is predicated on the premise that the sentence we have if that's part of the sentence, even though Susan was the last in the examination, means that she took the last position, and that is because she was not serious. So that would be wrong. Again, remember that she could have been last in terms of finishing, because obviously maybe she prepared so much that she took her time to finish up all or answer the question very well, and then she used up all the time and was the last to submit. So we see that C, option C, is the best of all of them because it captures the meaning without giving a wrong, without imputing a wrong meaning. That is the point you must underscore. This question again is on meaning derivation. Now, question 5. Mrs. Adasu does all her work with more haste, less speed. Mrs. Adasu does all her work with more haste, less speed. This question is on meaning derivation, not on idioms. Now, option A. She accepts whatever she does with more haste and speed. Can that be correct? No, it's wrong. Why? Now, you say she accepts. There's a difference between accepting and doing. So she accepts whatever she does. So it is not that she does, but she accepts. What is the acceptance when she's given? That is what that sentence option A is on. So it is wrong on that count. Then second, which is even more important, that she does with more. She accepts with more haste and speed. So she accepts with more haste and with more speed. When the sentence says more haste, less speed. So you can see that this on two counts, option A is wrong. Then we take option B. She approaches whatever she does hurriedly. Now, if you approach what you are doing hurriedly, it means you are doing it hurriedly. If you say, I approach my job with integrity, it means you do your job with integrity. That's what it means. So, to approach what you do in whatever way means you do what you do in that way. So it means, so the sentence she approaches whatever she does hurriedly, it means she does everything hurriedly. That's the meaning. So we can accept B based on that. She approaches whatever she does hurriedly. But again, let us be very sure that options C and D are not, that one of them is not better than option B. So option C, she addresses, I think that should be what she does. There should be what here. Hope you can see that. She addresses what she does very quickly to avoid mistakes. Now, that she addresses what she does may also mean what she does is done in a quick manner. So that will qualify in terms of haste. But remember too, there's quite difference between haste and quick. Okay, but let's say that is correct. Now, to avoid mistakes. Does the sentence tell us that? Take note, we're told Mrs. Adazu does all her work with more haste, less speed. So that sentence does not tell us that that action is to avoid mistakes. So doing it like that, in fact, the sentence shows that as she does with more haste, she encounters less speed. Meaning that the less speed could have come because of errors or mistakes made. So we see that option C is out. Then we'll take option D. Option D, she does everything carefully to avoid mistakes. This is wrong because she does everything carefully. When somebody does things hurriedly or in haste, we can't be saying the person is being careful. Although it doesn't necessarily mean the person is careless too. But it's difficult to say that doing things in haste is synonymous to doing things carefully. In fact, it is better to say that they are opposite than to say that they are synonyms. So you can see that based on that, we cannot accept this option D. And again, the point of avoiding mistakes, as explained in option C earlier, also shows that D cannot be our answer.